Armando Baker here.
It's Luke May.
This is Tyler Hansbrough.
University of North Carolina.
Here's North Carolina.
I just want to shout out my boy JBear_YT.
JBear_YT.
It's Carolina family, baby.
Go Heels.
Go Heels.
What is up, boys? Welcome back to another video. Today, I'm going to be doing my 2022 NCAA tournament bracket. Today is Selection Sunday as of the time I'm recording this. So we're going to go and predict who I think will be the national champions in 2022. Just a few note type things to get to before. Duke as a 2 seed is the most insane thing I've ever seen in my entire life. This might be the worst 2 seed I've ever seen. And yeah, I doubt they'll lose in the first round, there's teams that 2 seeds that have lost in the first round, including Duke, of course. But this Duke team, their defense the past 10 games has been legit terrible, and there's no way they're better than Tennessee. Tennessee deserved that 2 spot. Anyways, on to the predictions. We'll start in the Western region here. I'll have Gonzaga beating Georgia State in this first matchup. Memphis and Boise State the first 8-9. I'll go Memphis. Memphis is more talented. They've played a tougher competition, tougher schedule all year. So I think that experience will help them. Well, not experience, but experience as far as this season goes. Not as the whole team, obviously. But I think that'll be just enough for them to win this first matchup. Uconn and New Mexico State. I see a lot of analysts picking New Mexico State here. But I think Uconn is a little bit too good to lose a matchup like this. It kind of always seems to be New Mexico State in this 12 spot, so that's interesting. Arkansas and Vermont. Vermont plays a brand of basketball that I think can be troublesome for Arkansas. I've said multiple times that next year's Arkansas team I think could be really, really good. But this year, I'm not so sure, but I will have them moving on in the first matchup. Alabama will play the winner of Rutgers and Notre Dame, which I'm not too high on either of these teams, Rutgers and Notre Dame, so that is the main reason I'm going with Alabama there. But Alabama, they're way too streaky for me. They could go on a run. They're definitely capable, but in my opinion, I don't think so. Texas Tech, Montana State, I'll go Texas Tech to move on there. Michigan State and Davidson. Davidson's a pretty solid squad. They're a decent team, but Michigan State out of the Big Ten, coached by Tom Izzo, I think will win that matchup. Duke and Cal State Fullerton, I'll go Duke here. Although, of the 15 seeds, I think Cal State Fullerton might be the worst one. Jacksonville State, that's a pretty solid 15 seed. Anyways, I'll move on to the South, I guess, over here first. Or should I go? Let me stick in the West, actually. Gonzaga, Memphis. I'm going to go Gonzaga. They're just better in pretty much every facet of the game. Uconn and Arkansas. That's tough. Give me Arkansas. I like the way they play. Their coach is really amped up, and I like the way he coaches, so I'll go with them there. Alabama, Texas Tech. I'll go Texas Tech. Alabama's too streaky. And Duke, Michigan State. That could be a really good matchup and definitely 100% upset possible. It's tough, man. Coach K's final ride. I don't know. I feel like something is just going to get them into the Sweet 16. So we'll go with that there. Gonzaga, Arkansas. I'll go Gonzaga. And I will have Texas Tech beating Duke here to move on to the Elite Eight themselves. And out of the West region, I will have the Gonzaga Bulldogs moving on to the Final Four. Gonzaga, Texas Tech, those are 2 Final Four teams from a couple of years back also. So it'll be pretty sort of see them in the Elite Eight matchup there. So going over to the South, I'll go Arizona. Arizona is really darn good. Seton Hall, TCU, not very high on either of these teams. I'll go. Let me actually take a look inside this one. I'm leaning towards Seton Hall here. Seton Hall's had a little bit of trouble beating the pretty good teams. They beat Texas. TCU's pretty solid. I'll go Seton Hall here to move on to the next round. Houston, UAB. Man, I really want to go UAB here, but I think Houston is going to pull out a win there. Illinois, Chattanooga. I heard a lot of analysts talking about Chattanooga, but in my opinion, I don't think they're not going to be able to handle Kofi Coburn, so Illinois will move on there. Colorado State and Michigan. Michigan might be the worst team in the tournament, like just as a whole. So I'm going to go Colorado State to move on there. They're one of the best non-Power 5 schools in the tournament this year. Tennessee and Longwood, I'm going to go Tennessee. Ohio State and Loyola Chicago. I mean, Ohio State, the last couple of years, they've been out early in the tournament, and Loyola Chicago always makes a run of some sort. So I'll go Loyola Chicago for no other reason than that's how March Madness kind of works, you know. But, you know, expect the unexpected. So Villanova, Delaware, I will go Villanova moving on there. Arizona, Seton Hall, I'll have Arizona. Houston, Illinois, I'll go Illinois, although Houston can definitely win that matchup. Colorado State, Tennessee. This is unfortunate. This is an unfortunate matchup here because I think these are two of the best teams in the entire bracket. I put Arizona at 1. I'd probably put Tennessee at 2, Villanova at 3, and maybe Illinois at 4, and then Colorado State. But I like both these teams, is what I'm trying to say. A shame they have to go up in the round of 32 here, but I will go Tennessee, SEC champs. They've looked really good all season long. Loyola Chicago and Villanova. It would be a very Loyola Chicago thing to do to win, and Villanova doesn't have great size. So if they can attack inside and make something happen, it's definitely possible. And I've been lower on Villanova all year, but they've been playing so good lately. I'll go Villanova to move on. That's unfortunate. Arizona, Illinois, going Arizona. They might be the best team in the country. And Tennessee versus Villanova. I'm going to go Tennessee and move on in that matchup. And moving on to the Final Four, Arizona and Tennessee. I'm going to go with the Arizona Wildcats out of the Pac-12, narrowly squeaking one out against Tennessee. Now we'll go on to the Midwest here. Kansas against the winner of Texas Southern and, Texas? What is TCC? I remember them saying it on the broadcast. What is it? Shoot. Oh, it's Texas Corpus Christi, I think it's it. But either way, Kansas moving on there. Creighton and San Diego State. Creighton has been a good tournament team for the past couple of years. Don't know much about them, being honest, but I think they just lost in the championship game, I believe, of the Big East tournament. If not, maybe the semifinals. But Iowa, I think, will beat Richmond. Iowa, the Big Ten champs. They're on a bit of a roll right now. They're playing really good. Defensively, we'll see what happens once they face higher competition. But Providence, South Dakota State, I like South Dakota State here. I really do. And you got to have some upsets. You got to have them somewhere. Providence has been a really good team. I don't know. Ah, man. Yeah, I got to go upset somewhere. So I'm going to go San Diego State there. South Dakota State, excuse me. LSU, Iowa State. I'm going Iowa State. I know Iowa State hasn't been good lately, but LSU is just a mess. And pretty much ever since the word, they started 12-0 and were just average in the SEC. Iowa State, I think, will win that, especially with LSU. With the whole coaching situation, it just doesn't make sense for me to pick LSU there. Wisconsin, Colgate, I'll go Wisconsin. USC and Miami. If Miami shoots the 3-ball well, they can win this game. USC, I have been thinking is a little bit overrated this year, but I honestly did think 7 seed was fair for them. So I'll go Miami here to move on. And Auburn and Jacksonville State, I'll go with Auburn, but I think Jacksonville State, if there was a 2 seed that's going to win, I think it might be Jacksonville State, but obviously I'm not going to pick that. Kansas, Creighton, I'll go Kansas to move on there. Iowa, South Dakota State, I'll go Iowa, keeping up their hot streak. Iowa State, Wisconsin, I'm going to go with Wisconsin and Johnny Davis. And Auburn and Miami, I think Walker Kessler, Jabari Smith, and the Auburn Tigers will move on there. Kansas versus Iowa. Shoot. I'm not the high. I did pick Kansas preseason to be my national champion in my preseason bracket type thing, but I was on a roll. I don't know defensively that Iowa can keep up with Kansas, so I'm going to go with Kansas here. And Wisconsin facing Auburn. I don't know. this Auburn team just doesn't seem like they're built for success in March. And I like with Johnny Davis in Wisconsin, so I'll go with them there. And Kansas versus Wisconsin. I'm sorry it's been so chalky so far, but I'm going to go with the Kansas Jayhawks to move on to the Final Four. I know that, trust me, this next bracket won't be quite as chalky, although, I mean, we'll see how it goes. Baylor, Norfolk State. I'm going to go with Baylor. North Carolina versus Marquette. As a lot of you probably know, I'm a North Carolina Tar Heel fan. Marquette. Hopefully, they'll treat it as like a revenge game from what Marquette did to us last year in the regular season. And obviously, we are more talented. Marquette is kind of like Alabama, as in they're a streaky team. They don't rely as much on the three-point ball as much as Alabama does, but they are streaky. So obviously, Marquette can easily win this game. North Carolina can pretty much lose to every team in the tournament, but they're also capable of beating almost every team in the tournament. So I'm going to go with North Carolina to move on here to face Baylor. St. Mary's versus the winner of Wyoming and Indiana, which I don't know. I like St. Mary's. I think they're decent, but I think I'm going to go with Indiana to win in the first four and then upset St. Mary's. I think Trace Jackson Davis can be the difference there and help them move on. UCLA and Akron, I'm going to go UCLA. Texas, Virginia Tech. If Virginia Tech has a good three-point shooting night, I'm telling you, Virginia Tech probably going to move on in that matchup. And Purdue, Yale, I'll go Purdue. Murray State, San Francisco. I like both of these teams coming up, but Murray State. Let me tell you, this Murray State team is better than they were when they had John Morant. As a whole team, like John Morant was kind of just a fuel behind that fire. But this Murray State team is balanced. They just play really, really well. And I think they could. I hate that they have to go up against Kentucky because that's one of the best teams in the country. But I think they could be primed for a Sweet 16 run. But I'll go Kentucky to beat St. Peter's in that matchup. Baylor versus North Carolina. Now, Baylor is a little bit injured. They might be banged up during this game. We'll see how it goes. And I don't think this Baylor team is as good as they were last year. But with the way that Carolina's been all season, I can't really go with them winning in that matchup. So I'll go Baylor. Indiana versus UCLA. I'm going to say Indiana keeps the wave riding. I'm going to say that Indiana keeps it going onto the Sweet 16. Virginia Tech and Purdue. I'll go Purdue. They're more talented than Virginia Tech. If Virginia Tech has another good shooting night, they could definitely win that game. But I think Jaden Ivey and Purdue, and they'll have tough time stopping Zach Edey and Travion Williams down in the post. Murray State, Kentucky. This might be the best round of 32 matchup. What a shame that this has to be at this point. But I'll go Kentucky to move on. Baylor, Indiana, I'm going to go Baylor. Purdue, Kentucky, I'm going to go Kentucky. And I will have Kentucky beating Baylor and moving on to the Final Four. Yes, I'm sorry, 3 1 seeds and a 2 seed, but that's just what makes sense. I don't think there's as many good teams in college basketball as there typically are. So, but I mean, but with that being said, we could be primed for a whole lot more upsets. So it's interesting. This is an interesting bracket year. But in the Final Four, we have Gonzaga versus Kentucky. And it just seems at this point like what Gonzaga does. They make it to the championship. They never are able to close it out. But they always are getting to that spot. So I'm going to go Gonzaga moving on there. Arizona, Kansas. Benedict Mathurin versus Ochai Agbaji. I'm going to lean toward Arizona moving on there. And in the national championship, will it be Gonzaga's year? I think eventually they might have that year. If they keep recruiting well, that they just win it. But this year, man, how about Steve Robinson in Arizona? The former Tar Heel assistant coach, ooh, boy. Arizona's good. Arizona's really good. I'm going to go with them winning the national championship. So, well, I guess we'll go with a score prediction. Let's go with 77-70. All right, guys, thank you guys very much for watching today's video. Please like, subscribe, turn on post notifications, do that YouTube stuff, and I'll see you guys in the next one.